Ken, I think you can fire away. I see your hands up. I don't know. I can't see the others, but
Thank you, Jacques. So let's start. Jacques, you've seen Ken already. So Ken, let's start with the first question. Good afternoon. Fire away.
Thanks, Rian. Hi, Jacques. Thanks very much. I guess first of all, I should take back everything I said about there being too many Europe-based players in the squad based on what happened on the weekend. How much of a concern is it for South African rugby that was so dominant locally, like the Bulls, went over there and obviously took a bit of a hiding?
Yes, Joaquin, yeah, I can't comment on the Bulls and their plans and stuff like that. What I can comment is that I think, or we've said it in the past, that it's a good competition. I think the Rainbow Cup or whatever it's going to be next year, it's going to be a good competition for our teams to play in because it's a little bit different to what we used to. I think it's a lot more tactical, and obviously playing teams of Italy, then playing teams of Scotland, then playing teams of Wales, then playing teams of Ireland. I think every team, every country or region will have its own individual tactics, and then also the different teams in that region. So let's say Ospreys will have a different tactic to the Dragons, So I think from that perspective, it's going to be a nice challenge. So, but again, I want to reiterate, I can't comment on the Bulls and their plans and stuff like that. But that's why we're so keen in terms from a national point of view to get into that competition, because obviously you'll have to adapt week in, week out to different coaches, different styles, different weathers, different playing surfaces. Similar to what we probably, if I can go back to the World Cup, the brand and the style that a team like Japan would play will be different to what Wales would play, and you would almost have to adapt your playing style according to that. And so I think it's just nice to get us playing into an international game again. Not we almost know each other so well in South Africa, so I think it was quite nice just to almost play a little bit different opposition, if I can put it like that.
Thank you, Jacques. And the next question goes to Stephen Nell in Cape Town. Hello, Stephen.
How's it, guys? Jacques, thanks for chatting to us. Jacques, just to latch on to what Ken said, and you've obviously also experienced it overseas. Do you think it will help that you've got players, quite a few players from the Northern Hemisphere in your squad, given the dynamic that we've now seen come up?
Yes, I think, yeah, so what you mean, Stephen, is that we've got 23 players from overseas in our squad of 46 or 45. That's what you mean, eh? Will it be positive for us having them?
Yeah, just given, you've spoken about the different challenges, and we've seen I suppose the Bulls come up short in that sense. So, will the overseas players help in that sense? Do you think that's or do you think that's maybe a superficial analysis?
No, I think that's the positive of having players playing abroad. They get used to they get used to those playing conditions. They get used to the players. They play against them, compete against them on a weekly basis. So I guess, yes, you get some familiarity, if I can put it like that. If you get those guys who's playing in those conditions, playing against those teams, you get some familiarity in your squad when you do put them in your squad. Yes, so I think definitely. I know Treviso. When we coach with Munster against Treviso, I mean, it's a tough game to go and win. They've shot some big teams there. I mean, if you go back in history, Treviso has shocked some big teams there. And even when we went down there, it was a tough game. One guy broke his leg, the other guy dislocated his patella. It was a hard physical match. They're a proud team, and I guess we have to understand it was probably the biggest game in the history of Treviso. From a club perspective, they played in a Rainbow Cup final at home with crowds. It was probably one of their biggest games that I think it's probably is. I might be wrong here, so don't quote me on this, but it was a massive occasion for them, So yeah, and to answer your question, I think if it would be nice getting a couple of players from overseas that's been exposed to those conditions and environments and players.
Thank you, Jacques. And from Stephen in Cape Town, we go to Phyllis Sunday in Johannesburg. Phyllis?
Yeah, it's correct. Johannesburg. Thank you, Ryan. Jacques, good to see you again. I don't know how much you're abreast about this, the developments about having fans or not having fans in the stadiums. Just your thoughts about it, and obviously, would you like to see some sort of approval from the government to have some sort of fan base within the stadiums for the series?
I think if you ask any player, management player, I think we would all love fans because, I mean, that's why you play rugby. You play to entertain and to have people there and to get energy from the crowd and the noise and that, but not at the expense of health and safety of a fellow human being. So I think there we would get guidance from government. I mean, they're the people, they got experts giving them advice in terms of that. I mean, and we will oblige by whatever calls they make. But I think for anybody who participate in a professional sport and not rugby, any professional sport, if you ask someone, would you like to do it on your own there in the corner, or would you like to showcase your talent and things that you do? I think everybody would like to showcase it. That's why we do it. So, but again, not at the cost of international or of the safety of humans. No.
Thank you, Jacques. And the next question goes to Adnan Muhammad.
Hi, thanks, Ryan. Hi, Jacques.
Hi,
just on a different note, we obviously a guy like Matt Proudfoot, he's got a lot of insight and knowledge of the Springboks. Do you find it surprising that Warren Gatland perhaps didn't include him in his coaching team?
No, I mean that would be for Warren. That would be Warren's decision. I think with analysis these days, Adnan, and the depth that you can go into a team, I think yes, even with the no crowds, if you go and listen on the referee's mic, you will even pick up the calls of teams. So I think with a proper in-depth analysis, you'll probably will know what we're doing anyway. I think so. Yeah, it's the same for us. A guy like Andy coming from Saracens. I mean, I don't even we don't from our perspective we don't even go there. You don't want to. Firstly, I don't think you want to put a guy on a spot in terms of that, and then secondly, like I say, we probably have a pretty good idea what's coming our way, and I think Warren would probably have the same.
And then just Ryan, if I just ask, this weekend they're playing Japan. Obviously, we saw what Japan did in the World Cup last year. How much of an indication will that give you guys on where they at, and will they get a bit of a head start on you if they by playing this weekend already?
Yeah, I think if you ask us in terms of would we have loved to play a game this weekend? Yes, it would have been nice for us as well, but it's outside Regulation 9. So obviously that makes it a little bit more difficult. And Japan, actually, they have control over their players, so that's probably why they can play. So, listen, we will have Georgia a week after and for 2 test matches. So yeah, I think we will definitely look at that game. I'm not sure if Warren will show his hand yet. I'm not sure about that, but we will definitely have a look at it.
Thanks, Jacques.
Thank you, Jacques. Thank you, Adnan. And the next question is Carl Fabian. Carl, are you there?
Yes, sorry, just a button, didn't want to push.
Good.
Jacques, going back to the first question, I think the whole of South Africa is having a knee-jerk reaction on the performance of Benetton and everything. Some of my friends started buying canned foods and everything because we think it's the end of the world. But the type of rugby that you guys promoted and asked the franchise, South African franchises to play, do you think you have the players to force that pattern onto the British and Irish Lions and win them with that pattern?
Yes, yeah. I think, Cole, your first thing you said, look, we don't ask the franchises to follow any style. We don't have a blueprint that we give and say, listen, guys, can we align? I think each franchise, we will give everything we have. If somebody asks, listen, how do you guys do this or do that? We will be transparent as much as we can. But we will never. I will never ask Joey to follow a certain defensive structure or pattern. You know, he's got to do whatever is expected from him in his franchise, and I think all the other departments are like that. So we don't necessarily put a blueprint out there and say, listen, can we follow this? I kind of like the fact that there's different styles. You know, in South Africa, yeah, so yeah, if there is maybe, I'm not sure if people think that if they think that there's a perception, or if there is a perception out there that we ask franchises to play a certain way, we don't. They play completely up to what they feel is necessary to get a result. And your other part you asked, sorry, Cole, was do we believe? Yeah, listen, we will play a different style to, let's say, for instance, like I said, we play different styles to what the franchises play. And I think if you look at, I don't think necessarily always club rugby will show you the strength of the national setup. I think if you look at 2019, I don't think our franchises went past. We had no Super Rugby franchise playing in a final, but that doesn't necessarily portray that the national team will be good or bad. So we can't use it as an excuse, or maybe use it as something to promote and say, listen, we actually expect to perform at that level. The same with Argentina. You know, if you think last year Argentina, they don't even have club rugby. I think in Argentina, but they pulled off a victory against New Zealand. So I don't think necessarily club rugby as a direct link, or it can be equated to the performance of the national team, both positive and negative. So yeah, we've got the things that we have to get in place. We can't focus on what the franchises are doing. We've got certain critical areas of high performance that we have to tick, and we work towards that. Obviously, we believe if we can tick those certain high performance criteria, that we will be competitive and can get results against the British and Irish Lions.
Thank you, Jacques. Next up is Percival Young.
Baie dankie Ryan. Goeiedag sê Jacques. Jacques, jammer, ek wil nie die vraag herhaal nie en as my Engels my nie teleurstel nie, in die steek laat nie, verstaan ek jou reg dat die uitslag die afgelope naweek in Treviso het jou as nasionale afrigter of as nasionale afrigters van die Springbokke, julle het die slaaplose nagte daaroor nie. Kan ek jou egter vra, wat is julle doelwitte vir hierdie week, meneer? Ons natuurlik as media kry natuurlik die insig nou fisies self om te sien wat aangaan in die kampie. Wat is julle doelwitte vir hierdie week? En net die laaste deel van die vraag is, spelers soos byvoorbeeld Cheslin Kolbe en ELSTAT wat tans volgende naweek nou in Einster gaan speel, kom hulle in oorweging vir die eerste wedstryd teen Georgië, meneer? Dankie meneer afgestaan.
Ja, ek gaan begin eers Percy met die vraag oor oor Cheslin en Reinhard. Cheslin en Reinhard speel Saterdag die 26ste. Dan, ek dink hulle sal eers vlieg maandag, want Percy, hulle kry hulle laaste COVID-inenting die Sondag. So hulle sal eers die maandag vlieg, so, en ons speel al die Vrydag, so ek dink nie, daar sal genoegsame tyd wees vir hulle om betyds voorbereid te wees en om hulle genoeg tyd te gee om weer in ons manier van dinge doen te kom nie. So en luister, dit is Jacques Nienabar se opinie, maar dit sal deur die keringskomitee moet gaan wanneer ons begin span kies vir Georgië. So maar ek dink hulle sal 10 teen, ek is nie seker van die logistiek nie, so ek sal eers dit uitvind, maar ek kan nie sien dat Cheslin het vir my gesê, hulle kry eers hulle tweede dosis van die vaksine kry hulle eers die Sondag. So hulle sal 10 teen 1 en Maandag eers in Suid-Afrika aankom. En ons sal al weer die Vrydag speel, so dit is oor hulle. Ek persoonlik dink daar gaan bietjie min tyd wees, maar weer eens logistiek en die keerders kan 'n ander prentjie skets. Dan die ander vraag van die naweek teen die Bulle, gee dit my slapelose nagte. Weer eens, Percy, ek weet nie wat die Bulle het hulle eie plan gehad. Ek bedoel, ons het nie inslae daaroor gehad nie, en weer eens wat 'n goeie nasionale as jy nasionale span goed doen, het dit nie noodwendig 'n direkte korrelasie teenoor hoe klubs perform nie, en weer eens vice versa, hoe klubs perform het nie noodwendig 'n direkte vergelyking met hoe die nasionale span perform nie. So ja, ek dink die ding wat almal, ek dink baie mense in Suid-Afrika, wag, kom ek begin voor. Ek dink ons kan nou sien dit gaan 'n goeie kompetisie wees vir ons spanne om in te speel. Ek dink ek dink mense het dalk gedink die kompetisie gaan bietjie afgewater wees, jy weet, maar ek kan jou beloof, ons het daar afgerig, ek en Rassie vir 2 jaar, en weet jy, dis goeie kompetisie. Jy gaan jou ducks in 'n row moet hê in daai kompetisie. Nie dat die Bulls dit nie gehad het nie, so asseblief moet nou nie sê ek sê hulle het nie. Ek sê maar net dit is 'n goeie kompetisie om in te gaan speel. Daar is nie 'n swak span nie, en op enige dag kan enige span die ander span wen. En dan jou tweede vraag was, Percy, ek het nou die laaste en die eerste een geantwoord.
Die doelwitte vir hierdie.
Die doelwitte in die kamp ons het nou is maar om weer kan ek maar sê, almal bekend te stel aan die manier hoe die Springbokke dinge doen in terme van ons planne, ons strategie, ons aanvals, die taal wat ons praat in die kamp. So dis om almal weer belyn te kry met dit, en dan om intensiteit te druk. Dis 'n belangrike week vir ons hierdie, want van volgende week af begin ons toetse speel, so hierdie week is basies die laaste een waar ons actually die laaste bietjie sekondes kan uittap om lekker intensiteit en kan ek maar sê kondisionering te kry. So dis 'n belangrike week vir ons, Percy.
Thank you, Jacques, and thank you, Percy. Jacques, if I may ask that you bear with me, you touched on 2 very important points for the benefit, I think, of the greater media contingent. If you can very, very briefly, just in summary, just sum up the question of Cheslin and Reinhard, whether they will be in contention for the first match, and then what are your goals for this week? Very shortly. Thank you.
Okay,
in English.
And Cheslin are playing in the top 14 final. I'm not sure. I heard that it might be on Friday night, but I'm not sure. But in my head, the finals on Saturday, and they're only getting their last dose of their COVID-19 vaccine on Sunday after the final. They will probably only fly after that. So probably only getting in South Africa maybe Monday or Tuesday, and we're playing on a Friday. So I think, and this is Jacques Nienabar speaking, obviously there's selectors and there is logistics that might be different that I don't know of, but I think as I'm currently aware, they'll probably only get in on Monday or Tuesday, which will make them probably late, which will be very little time in terms of them getting back into the mix, getting into the Springbok way of doing things before Friday night. So I think personally it will be a tough ask for them to play against Georgia, the first test match. But again, I want to stress that the selectors that has a say in that, and then also maybe they'll play the final on the Friday and then they can get you earlier. So logistically, there might be things that change. And then what is what is the purpose of this week, or our goals for this week? This is this last week that we actually are preparing without playing a test match. So from a conditioning perspective, we can put nice load on the players. We don't have to taper for a test match. And then also the main focus is just to get everybody acquainted with our language, our lingo, our strategies, coming in from their clubs, and obviously with the added conditioning focus on that.
Thank you, Jacques. Thank you for your patience. And in summoning that, we go the last question to Jacques, and then we have to move forward, unfortunately. We go over to Mark Gleeson of Reuters. Good afternoon, Mark.
Good afternoon. Can I ask you, you said you expect, or you're not sure whether Gatland's going to show his hand on Saturday. Are you going to show your hand a little bit in the Georgia games, or is the idea to give the guys a bit of a taste again of international rugby after such a long absence, such a long time without the box playing?
Yeah, Mark, I think our first test will be, yes, let's just get used to international rugby again. I think maybe, yeah, that's probably, if you look at the Bennett and Treviso game, I think there's 11 in, or there's quite a big contingent Italy international players in that Bennett and Treviso team, and obviously Jake didn't have the luxury of having his international players in his side, and I think that's the thing. That's the difference between club rugby and international rugby, you know. So I think for us it will be, yes, let's just get used to the pace of the game, the physicality of the game, the small margins of international rugby, because it will be different than club rugby. Yeah.